is Wednesday, so that's a full client check-in day where I send one-on-one videos back to my clients. And one recurring theme that came up that I really want to chat on, I feel like it's a good topic to talk about, is how much we self-sabotage when we don't believe in ourselves. And it comes up in ways that are disguised as maybe excuses or other things that hold us back. And so one specific client of mine was having issues just getting to the point where they could believe in themselves enough to do the amount of work that's going to be required of them to see results. You know, they've been struggling for 20 plus years, and it's at that point in time where, you know, you've started something new and now you're 4 weeks in. That's exactly the point in time where your mind will start creating overwhelm and reasons to stop doing something and tell yourself, you know, you can't do this and you can't do that, and, you know, you're not going to make it. And that's the exact point in time that I think is actually a good experience for people to experience, because it's an opportunity to rewire the patterns and the thoughts that are going on at that time. If you never face the adversity, if you just try and run away from what you're feeling and avoid those feelings that come up, you know, 4 weeks into starting something new, you always go back in that cycle of self-sabotage. So it's in those moments where, like, be grateful that you're experiencing that, because you get to lean into it and choose to feel something different and change your self-talk, change the patterns that you're experiencing and going through to then create a new person. And this goes the same for, you know, eating habits. If you never put yourself in the arena to experience something different, meaning you go out and track your food at a restaurant, or, you know, you go on vacation and instead of just completely letting it be a shit show, you go and track your food. If you never put yourself in that opportunity, you never develop the skill. So a lot of the times, you know, that lack of self-belief, you have to stick through in those times when you're convincing yourself not to do something, so that you can then experience the actual change at the core, which is you, your patterns, your habits, your behaviors, your self-talk that used to self-sabotage you. Not just change, you know, your training program or your nutrition plan. It's usually a behavior change that is needed. So that was really cool. You know, we got to speak on that a lot in check-ins today, and I thought I would share it with you guys because I think it's super valuable. You know, for me, there's many times throughout my life where I wanted to go back. You know, I wanted to talk myself out of doing something. I wanted to go back to the comfort. You know, I'm sure I'll open up about this more as I get into this channel, but in my past, I was in a really not so good relationship. And that led me to becoming a person that I just wasn't proud of. And I was really depressed, anxious, you know, panic attacks, all that kind of stuff. And when I left that situation and moved away, there were times where I question myself. You know, I wanted to go back. I'm like, what if this? What if that? What if this? Even when I started this journey of becoming a coach, many questions in my head, even years into the game, I was thinking, man, maybe this isn't for me, you know, questioning myself. And so know that that is normal, and that just because you experience it when you start something new doesn't mean that you have to listen to it, because you know that it's always going to be there. That experience of you telling yourself that, oh, you know, this isn't for me, or this is really hard, you know, I'm scared of the work. Like, that's normal. That's something that every single person will tell themselves. But when you experience that time and time again, the more adversity that you face, the more growth that you face, the less that happens. The less those voices in your head happen, and the more you learn not to listen to them. Let's take you through this upper body day and talk a little bit about what I eat in a day on an animal-based diet. Okay, I'm gonna take an oregano oil shot this morning because I woke up feeling a little bit of something coming on. I know there's stuff going around right now. If you get sick, or you feel like there's a sickness going around, you don't want to get sick, take oil of oregano. It is so helpful. Kind of just helps me avoid getting sick in the first place. So it is absolutely disgusting, so I will warn you, but it is super worth it. And on top of that, I don't have any juice to use, so I'm actually gonna use water and lime juice. Probably gonna be pretty fucking nasty, but that's all right. So you just do like 3 or 4 drops. This lasts super long too, so you can buy 1 bottle and you'll have it for probably years, honestly. Oh my God, that smells nasty. I might need a little more, put a little more water in it. Yeah, if you take that, take it with juice. But on another note, today we're going to Iron Lore again to film some content and do a little bit of a shoulder day. I didn't get to film the full upper body day that I mentioned earlier because when I got to the gym, it was super dead in there. And I filmed like 2 exercises, I think, but then a lot of people started coming in the gym. And then as far as the day of eating goes, I had eggs this morning which is usually what I eat every single day. I use farm-raised eggs from like a local person here who raises their chickens properly off of fully organic, grass-fed, all of that. And then I usually have a slice of sourdough with it, a little bit of fruit and honey. And sourdough is one of the best breads that you can get, if not the best, if you get the correct stuff. It does have to be fermented properly, so you can kind of do your research on that and look it up. But if you take like a typical bread that everybody eats, like the Dave's Killer Bread or something like that, and you look at the ingredients, and there's enriched wheat flour, there's a bunch of shit in there that doesn't need to be in there. When you can make bread out of flour, water, and yeast, that's all you need is those 3 ingredients. So if you're buying bread, you really don't need to be. You could even make your own from those 3 ingredients, buy some organic flour, or you can buy some sourdough from a local bakery that does it right, and it's way better for you. A lot of the time people think that, gluten is their issue or the foods that they're eating are the issue. Usually it's the quality of foods that are the problem and the ingredients that are in them. So yeah, that's usually my daily breakfast. I don't really get sick of it, and if I do, I'll just make the eggs in a different way, like with an omelet. And then I also use different type of salt on my meals, which if you can, I highly recommend switching to this. It's called real salt. I think everybody should be using this because it's not refined. And a lot of the times the salt that we're using is not real. It's not real salt. And don't be afraid of salt either. I feel like a lot of people underconsume salt if you are eating whole foods. If you're getting all of your sodium from super processed foods and you're making the switch to eating more whole foods and more animal-based, you will want to have salt on your foods. When you're drinking water and you're just drinking a bunch of filtered water with no sodium back in your diet, that can make you feel really lethargic, not a lot of energy, especially in the gym, things like that. Also, I just saw these in the cupboard, so I wanted to chat about them. If you are switching to a whole food diet, again, animal-based, where you're mostly eating fruits, meat, and maybe a little bit of vegetables, sometimes it can be challenging to get all of your calories in. So one thing I like to do is just buy nuts to add to things. Usually I'll put them in my Greek yogurt or just on the side. Even in salads is really good. You can pretty much put these in anything. So I highly recommend these as a healthy source of fats. Obviously they're really high calories, so you do need to weigh them out and make sure that you're being aware of that. But again, it's a really good source of healthy fats. If you're switching to that whole food diet and you're struggling to get your fats in, things like avocados are great. Fats that come from organic grass-fed butter, also completely okay. And fats that come from the steak that you eat, like that's all fine. Even like sources of raw dairy or at least grass-fed organic dairy, those are all really great sources of fats. But again, if you need that higher calorie and you want more fats in your diet, that is a really great way to do it. So I'm basically doing my shoulder day where I train everything to about 1 to 2 RIR. I do like 2 movements for side delts, 1 for rear delts. So pretty short shoulder day today. We'll do 3 working sets here, 2 on the lateral raise, and then we'll do a rear delt fly. Again, 1 to 2 RIR and everything. Basically what we're looking for when we're training in 1 to 2 RIR zone is just a slowdown of the concentric speed around 3 to 4 RIR. So you should be pushing past that point, past that slowdown point. If you're training within 1 to 2 RIR, it should be feeling really difficult. Don't train super easily where you can just toss the weight around and feel like you're at psychological failure but not muscular failure towards the end. All right, welcome back to another vlog. I had a couple clips from a vlog that I filmed last week, but I didn't get around to editing and posting because honestly I just didn't have enough clips. So I'm going to combine those two. So I don't know if those will be before this or after this, but whatever. I am headed to the gym right now. Got about a 40-minute drive, and I want to chat a little bit about some changes that I'm making to my training again. And this is kind of a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, which is being okay with going to one extreme or another and then finding your middle ground. I've done this in a lot of different areas in my life recently, just over the last year. I've kind of found the balance between being super in my masculine energy towards accomplishing and getting things done and structure and all of that, and then switching back over to way too feminine energy, which means flow and just letting things kind of naturally, basically just allowing things to kind of go with the flow. And so that took me out of a lot of productivity. It kind of scared me in a way because I lost all of my structure, and that structure that I had in my life, that go, go, go mentality, that push for everything and force everything mentality, is what got me to where I am today, in a sense that that's what I built my business off of. And so taking that away, knowing that that was the whole foundation of what I built my business off of, was really scary, because how do you sustain something in a different way in which you have not yet learned how to do, which is a combination of that feminine flow energy, that masculine energy, kind of finding that balance. And so that's just one example of how much my life has changed over the last year, of going to one extreme or the other, experiencing both in their extremes, and then finding that middle ground. And the reality is that this is the only way that you can truly find that in between. You have to be willing to go to the extremes, even if you don't necessarily mean to. I feel like a lot of us go to one extreme in our fitness. If we're doing cutting out certain foods and we're super restrictive, we can't go out to eat anywhere, we only train a certain way, right? And that's that all in, all out mentality. But in a sense, we kind of need that for a period of time to know what the balance is, or at least find the balance. And when I say find the balance, I don't mean be half in, half out with your goals. That's not what balance means to me. Balance means finding a common ground of one extreme to another that works for you. So for me right now, I just got out of a super extreme athletic training, strength training, very athletic based, which, if I'm being real, I probably didn't really need to go all in on that, but I needed to experience it to know that that's not what I want. And so recently I've kind of found myself not loving my training. I loved it for a little bit, and I was kind of excited for the new thing, but once I got into it, I'm you know what? I still love hypertrophy so much, and why would I take myself away from doing that when I love it and I thoroughly enjoy it? So I needed to go to that other extreme. I needed to test it out and figure out, is that something that I want to do? And come to find out, I don't really love it a whole lot, but I love it enough, and I love the results enough of how it makes me feel to want to still include some of that in my training. So we're going back to hypertrophy focused training, very, very hypertrophy focused in my lifts themselves. But then on top of that, I'm just adding in some plyos, a little bit of cardio. So basically taking what I enjoyed out of the athletic based training and applying it into, or on top of, what I'm already doing with my upper body and lower body lifts. So we got 4 times per week hypertrophy training. So it's an upper lower split, 2 times per week, and then 2 days of cardio. And then I think I'm gonna do 1 additional day where I'm doing mobility, plyos, maybe another cardio day, I'm not quite sure yet, within that 5th day. So 5 days of training overall, which I'm really happy with. And this is the first day starting that. So it's Monday, fresh week, fresh start. I'm really excited for that. And I think just kind of finding what the goal is that you're passionate about, at least for me in my case, it's helped me reignite that excitement back towards my training. And I'm not saying you have to change everything all of the time to keep yourself excited, because I think that a lot of people fall into that category, and then they end up just never seeing any results because they change everything too often. And then, nothing is able to compound as far as results. But yeah, that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make, is just going back and forth between what they think they want, maybe they don't know what they want and they haven't really found it yet. And so my advice to you, if you're in that scenario, is go all in on one thing, experience it, and then combine it with something that you've previously gone all in on, and like find that, maybe not necessarily find the flow, but like find the structure that you like, that works for you and your goals, and prioritizes what's most important to you. So that's kind of what I've done over the last, I'd say, 2 months. And I'm really excited to get back into it and just have that excitement, because when you don't have a specific goal and you're just kind of like floating and you're not excited about your goal, what's going to happen is you're not going to be as diligent on all of your other variables that are involved in getting results, like your tracking of food, you know, maybe completing your training sessions at a high level instead of just like going in and checking the box. You might not be sleeping as well. Like, all of your variables won't be as on point, and you'll notice yourself checking a lot less things off of your to-do list because of that. So being really dialed in on what your goal is so helpful in consistency and diligence on the plan, and like holding yourself to a higher standard. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Little update. If you relate to that, let me know in the comments. I'm curious of like, have people gone through that before, or are you more so right now, you haven't gone in on like an all-in, all-out mentality approach? What does it look like for you? But yeah, we're gonna head into the gym here soon. I'm gonna hit a lower body session on my new program. I'll try my best to get as many clips as I can with the YouTube, but when I film content in the gym, like, I do have to film a lot of that in vertical format. So try and get a little bit of both, show you guys that, walk you through it, and then go from there. All right, we're gonna go through a walkthrough of this workout. I only filmed one clip of each exercise just because I was filming for Instagram and TikTok, but this felt incredible. I was really excited about this workout. Just getting back to pure hypertrophy training after doing athletic-based stuff for a couple months on my leg days, this felt really good. And what's even more exciting is all of that knee rehab that you guys have been seeing me doing and talking about has paid off, because I was able to do these hack squats and leg press with zero knee pain. I didn't feel anything, which is a huge step for me. So this set felt really good. Probably only about 3 to 4 RIR here, which I think is safe for my knee currently. Typically I would be training within 2 reps in reserve consistently, but getting back into my training with my knee, I didn't want to overdo it and push it. But hack squats felt awesome. That's going to be my base to work from over the next month or so, going into the following weeks of the training phase. Then we went into leg press. This also felt fantastic. What's crazy is how much depth I could get here compared to before. Notice how I kept pushing depth, and then exploded out. I actually surprised myself with how much depth I could get, because last time I did these, I kind of felt like I was bottoming out on the exercise, but what was really happening was my hip flexors were just really tight and potentially even weak. So that was really cool to feel, again, the hip mobility and the knee rehab paying off, because I've been doing a lot of work on my hip flexors as well. So anytime you're doing leg press, really aim to get as much depth as you can, because that's where you're going to get the most quad growth and glute growth too. And just like anything else, you need to set up the machine to get the most depth possible. So if your machine has a safety on it, you know, your seat back can adjust it to a place where you can get the most depth, where you're closing in your calf onto your hamstring. So did one set here, again, probably about 3 reps in reserve. And then we went into the 45-degree hyperextension, which I'm actually really excited to start doing these again, because I felt these in my hamstrings so much compared to other exercises, which is quite surprising to me. If you do want this to be more glute biased, you can point your toes outwards, but right now I'm really focusing on hamstrings, not so much my glutes. So this felt amazing. And the nice thing about this too is that I don't have to put any extra pressure on my knees. So it's a good exercise to have in there without worrying about pressure on my knees and too much movement at the knee joint. And then last exercise was just a cable crunch. You don't really have to work them too much, but when you do things like a leg raise or a cable crunch, things like that, where you're training with the same hypertrophy principles that you would train any other muscle group with. But that was the workout. You know, obviously I don't do crazy long workouts, and if your leg days are 5 exercises plus per session, you're definitely doing too much. Quantity over quality every single time. As long as you're training within like 0 to 3 reps in reserve, you're progressively overloading, which means you can add a rep or more weight under the same conditions as the previous session. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking progressive overload is something that you can just do without tracking. You have to track your workouts to know if you are progressively overloading. Again, under the same conditions, which means consistent quality, consistent technique, consistent form, and consistent execution across the board. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.